that little twinge in your knee, maybe after a long walk. Or perhaps it's that stiffness when you first get up.
Mhm.
Knee pain is, well, it's incredibly common. And a big reason for that can often be knee osteoarthritis. It really makes you wonder what actually puts us at risk.
That's exactly the question, isn't it? And it's what we're diving into today. We've been looking at this really comprehensive new piece of research.
Okay.
It's a systematic review and meta-analysis. Basically, think of it like researchers gathering up results from tons of studies.
Right, combining forces.
Exactly. In this case, 131 studies. And they looked at, get this, over 150 potential risk factors for developing knee osteoarthritis across, well, our entire lifespan.
Wow, 131 studies. So it's not just one group's opinion, it's pulling together a huge amount of data for a clearer picture.
Precisely. You get a much stronger conclusion that way. This review, it was published online in Osteoarthritis and Cartilage just this past March. And its main goal was really to nail down what truly increases our risk. So our mission here is to pull out the key insights, maybe even some surprising ones, to help you understand your own risk factors.
All right, let's get into it. After wading through all that research, what really jumped out? What are the big signals?
Well, one of the clearest findings, with pretty strong evidence backing it up, is the role of a previous knee injury.
Ah, okay. Injury history. That makes intuitive sense, but what did the numbers show?
The numbers are quite striking, actually. The meta-analysis showed that having a history of knee injury significantly boosts your chances of developing radiographic knee osteoarthritis later on.
Radiographic meaning it shows up on an X-ray.
Exactly. The specific number they calculated was an odds ratio of 2.67.
Okay, and for listeners, an odds ratio over 1 means increased risk. So 2.67.
Yep.
That sounds like a substantial increase.
It really is. The confidence interval was 1.41 to 5.05, which, reinforces that it's a solid finding. It means the risk is more than doubled.
More than double. So thinking back, that football injury in high school or that awkward fall on the ice, it could actually matter years down the line.
That's what this research strongly suggests. And the certainty of this evidence was rated moderate to high by the researchers themselves.
Yep.
So yeah, it definitely makes you reconsider injuries you might have brushed off.
It really does. Does it matter how bad the injury was? Or is any kind of prior damage a factor?
That's a good point. This particular review didn't necessarily drill down into severity levels, but the overall message is clear. Any significant past knee injury seems to increase that long-term vulnerability. The knee remembers, you could say.
The knee remembers. Huh. Okay, what else came up? I mean, age has got to be in there somewhere, right?
Oh, absolutely. That one's maybe less surprising, but they quantified it.
How so?
For every single year older you get, the odds of developing radiographic knee OA go up slightly. The odds ratio is 1.15 per year.
1.15.
Yeah, with a confidence interval pretty close to 1, from 1.00 to 1.33. So it's a steady increase with age.
Okay, so we can't stop getting older, obviously. But knowing that risk climbs steadily is, well, it's good information to have. Helps put things in perspective.
Precisely. And understanding that baseline increase helps us focus on the factors we might be able to do something about. Which actually brings us to a perhaps more unexpected finding.
Oh, do tell.
High bone mineral density.
Wait, high bone density, isn't that usually a good thing? Like strong bones, less risk of fractures?
That's what you'd normally think, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But this meta-analysis found an association between higher bone mineral density and an increased risk of knee osteoarthritis. The odds ratio was 1.82.
1.82. So almost double the risk again. That seems completely counterintuitive. Why would stronger bones be linked to knee OA?
That's the million-dollar question, really. The review itself acknowledges that the why isn't fully understood from this data. It's flagged as an area needing more research. But, one theory might be that denser bone is perhaps less able to absorb shock, or maybe it changes how forces are distributed across the cartilage in the knee joint.
Interesting. So it could affect the joint mechanics somehow.
Potentially. It really highlights how complex our bodies are, doesn't it? Something beneficial in the one context might have unexpected links in another.
It certainly does. Okay, so we have past injuries as a big one, getting older as a steady factor, and this surprising link to high bone density. What about things we can maybe, influence more directly, modifiable factors?
Yes, and this is crucial. The study really highlighted the impact of two factors together, being overweight or obese, and that previous knee injury we already talked about.
Okay, weight and past injury. What's their combined impact?
They estimated that these two factors together account for about 14% of new cases of radiographic knee osteoarthritis.
14%. Wow, that's actually quite a chunk.
It is. It really drives home the point that addressing weight, alongside preventing or managing injuries, could potentially prevent a noticeable amount of knee OA.
That makes sense. The extra load on the joints from excess weight must play a big role.
Absolutely. And the study also pointed toward occupational physical activity.
Meaning jobs that are physically demanding.
Yes, things like jobs involving a lot of repetitive heavy lifting, maybe prolonged kneeling, squatting, or other high-impact activities. These seem to contribute to both the radiographic kind and symptomatic knee OA, the kind you actually feel.
Right. So the daily grind at work could literally be grinding down your knees over time if the physical demands are high.
That's the implication, yes. It suggests the cumulative effect of what we do for a living can definitely impact knee health down the road. Something to think about regarding workplace safety, ergonomics, maybe even long-term career planning for some.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around the main points here. This massive review confirms previous knee injury is a major risk factor.
Okay.
Older age steadily increases risk. And surprisingly, high bone density is also linked to increased risk. The evidence for these seems pretty solid, moderate to high certainty, you said.
Correct, for those specific links to radiographic OA.
And then, importantly, there are the modifiable factors. Overweight or obesity combined with past injuries accounts for around 14% of new cases.
A significant proportion.
And demanding physical work also adds to the risk.
Yes, that's a good summary. The review really concluded by emphasizing that we need better strategies, novel approaches to target these modifiable things, weight, injury prevention and management, occupational risks, to try and lessen the overall burden of knee OA.
So for you listening, the key things to perhaps reflect on are any knee injuries you've had in the past, acknowledging the age factor and just noting that interesting point about bone density.
Right.
But the really empowering part is knowing that managing weight and being aware of physical job demands are areas where you might have some influence.
Absolutely, which leads to a really interesting thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Given how significant that previous knee injury risk factor is, what more could we be doing, both individuals and maybe doctors or physios after someone has a knee injury, to actively try and stop or slow down the development of osteoarthritis later on?
That's a fantastic question, thinking proactively after the injury happens.
Exactly. What could those interventions look like? Better rehab? Specific exercises? Lifestyle tweaks?
Lots to think about there. Hopefully, this deep dive has given you some valuable insights into your own potential risk factors for knee osteoarthritis and maybe a bit more power through understanding.